Hello CraftDee Family, and welcome to another tutorial by She's So Crafty. For today's DIY projects, I've selected 10 super easy projects that we created in 2020 that can be used year-round. Now these feature a variety of styles from modern to farmhouse, just to show you different ways you can diversify your home's decor. Now I provided all the links to all of the original videos in the description box below, where you can find all of the printables and supply lists if needed. Now I'm so excited to share this tutorial with you, but before we start, I wanted to say hey, and welcome back to my fantastic subscribers and visitors to my channel. Now if you are a new visitor to my channel today, and you love to create fun and easy DIY projects on a budget, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and also click that little bell so you'll be the first to know when a new DIY tutorial is ready to share with you. So now, let's jump right into these projects. Need 2 packs of these gallon stir sticks, 2 jars or vases from the Dollar Tree, some thick jute twine, 2 utility hooks from the Dollar Tree, and also some florals of your choice. Now the first thing we want to do is to take both packs of the gallon paint stir sticks and measure and mark a cut line of about 9 inches. Now I will be cutting these with my saw, but we want to make sure to remove 2 sticks from each package before cutting. And here are all the pieces cut and ready. So now I'm going to prepare to stain, so I'm gathering up my staining supplies. Now we'll be using my favorite stain, Jacobian by Minwax. Now these sticks have a printed side and a plain side, so make sure for these you stain just the plain side. Now I'm going to just apply 1 coat of the stain to the stick, and I want to make sure you get the sides and the ends as well. And then once all the pieces are stained, you're just going to sit them out to dry. Now that the pieces are dry, we're going to separate 8 of the short sticks and 2 of the long sticks to assemble the project. Now I'm going to lay out my grid mat to help with the alignment of the pieces. Now I'm going to place the 2 long sticks 5 inches apart and then evenly space the 8 short sticks on top. Now once evenly spaced, I'm going to use this wood glue from the Dollar Tree to secure these into place. Now once the piece sets, you want to flip it over, and then I want to add staples to secure it better into place. So I'm just starting by adding 2 staples at the top, and then I'm going to flip it over to make sure they're not going through to the other side. And then I can continue to staple the entire piece. And then I'm going to repeat the process for the other set of sticks. So now I'm going to take 2 of those cut off paint stick pieces, and I'm going to apply it in the back in the middle of that second stick down. Now the purpose of this is to provide more support for the hook that we'll be using. We're going to adhere some wood glue to the back of the piece and stick it right in the middle of that second piece. And then I'm going to apply a staple on each end of each piece. So now I'm just going to grab my piece of scrap wood, and I'm going to use this to help drill my holes. Now I'm going to take one of my utility hooks, and I want to center it on that piece we just added. I'm going to take a pencil and I want to mark the 2 holes where the screws go. And then I'm going to drill pilot holes for the screws using one of the bits that's smaller than your screw. And then repeat this for the other piece. And now I'm just going to drill 2 holes at the top as shown, and this will be for our jute twine. And now all of our holes are drilled. And then I'm going to apply 2 coats of this flat black spray paint to our utility hooks. Now while those dry, I'm going to use one of these 1/2 inch wire nails at the top of the 2 sticks for extra support, since they will be weight bearing. Now since these are small, I'm going to be using my needle nose pliers to hold them while I nail them in place, and I only want them to go in about 3/4 of the way to prevent them from going through to the other side. And once they're all nailed in, just take a pair of wire clippers and clip off the nail heads on the part that you didn't nail in. So the next thing I'm going to do is to add my jute string. Now I like to trim the edge, and I like to add just the tiniest bit of warm glue on the end to help feed it through the hole. Now please use finger protectors if this bothers you, but I think I've been doing this so long, I've lost all feeling in my tip, so I just twist it between my fingers and I push it through the hole without a problem. And now you just want to make your strings even and make sure that the hang is going to be even on both pieces. And once it is even, go ahead and tie knots on the ends to keep the string from running back through. And then just clip off all of the tails. So now our utility hooks are dry and we can add them on. Now I'm going to be using the screws that came with them, and so I'm just going to apply them in with a screwdriver. So once they're all applied, I'm going to cover the screw heads with a dab of this black acrylic paint to blend it all in. So now we can add our hanging vases or mason jars to those hooks, and then add any flowers or greenery as we desire. And here is the completed project. Now I think these turned out simply adorable. Now I love the beautiful combination of the ivory flowers and the rich color of that Jacobean colored wood. Give a thumbs up if you love that Jacobean stain as much as I do. One of these grill toppers from Dollar General. And some boxwood greenery from Walmart for 97 cents. Now first we want to do is take our art and remove it from any packaging. Now we also want to remove that MDF artboard as well. Then go ahead and grab that grill topper, and we want to go ahead and remove the labeling from that, and then take that art insert and put it on top because we want to trace that shape onto the topper. And then we're just going to go ahead and cut it out with a pair of sharp scissors. And now we're just going to make sure our piece will fit the frame. Now I printed out this Home Sweet Home sign on cardstock, and I'm going to be cutting that out. So I have a link to this design in the description box below to use for this project as well. And once that's cut out, I'm going to go ahead and trace that circle onto a piece of that leftover cardstock and cut it out. And then I'm going to go ahead and take that circle and I want to center it on that metal piece and hot glue it into place. And then I'm going to hot glue that Home Sweet Home sign right on top of that on the opposite side. So then I place down a piece of parchment paper and I grab that box with greenery. What I'm going to do is just start picking off those branches and apply them around that Home Sweet Home sign, overlapping the ends. And here is that single round complete. And now we're going to apply one more round of that greenery. And here it is with a double layer. Now for a final touch, I'm going to tie this buffalo check ribbon into a bow. And then I want to go ahead and set it in place and glue it to the top of the wreath. And then we can place this back into the frame and secure it in place with those side tabs. And here it is on full display. This sweet little sign is so adorable, and I love the metal added in the back. Has a rustic farmhouse feel. Let me know which project is your favorite in the comments below. Pine that is 15 inches by 3 3/4. I'll also be using some pieces of this 1 1/4 inch dowel rod that I had left over. And I'll also be using a few pieces of this scrap wood that vary in lengths and thicknesses. Now I'm going to cut 4 1-inch slices from this dowel for feet. And then I'm going to cut pieces of these strips varying from 4 to almost 5 inches, 3 inches, it just varies. And here are my dowel pieces cut and my strip pieces. And I'm going to arrange them in stacks of similar heights so I can start applying them to the box. Now they will be applied along the outer edge of our planter box. Now I will be using this wood glue from the Dollar Tree to adhere these. And so you want to start adding those wood pieces along the bottom edge, and you want to apply a generous amount of that wood glue. Now as you apply these, you want to select varying lengths of wood as you go to create a random and visually appealing look. Now once all the pieces are in place, you want to wrap a piece of tape around the box to hold those pieces in place while they dry. So now that we let the glue sit and dry for a few hours, we can add the feet to the box. Now I will be applying one of those 1-inch dowel slices in each bottom corner of the box. So all I'm going to do is apply some wood glue on the top of each piece. And then I want to just apply one slice in each one of those corners. Now once those are in place, I'm going to add some of this Dollar Tree super glue along the bottom seam where we applied those wood pieces to make the connection super strong. Now once everything dries, we can remove that tape. Now I love this box and this natural look, but I'm going to go ahead and stain it to go along with my other pieces. And so of course I'll be using my Jacobian stain on the box inside and out. And so now that it is all stained, we just sit it to dry. Now I just added some greenery from the Dollar Tree and here is the finished project. Oh my goodness, it looks amazing. Now I absolutely love the varying lengths of wood in this piece and it gives it so much character. Now I think this just might be my favorite so far. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Now these are 100% wood and so they're perfect to use in this project. So what we want to do is remove all of the 4 puzzles from their packaging. Now once that's done, we want to go ahead and secure all of the puzzle pieces in place with some wood glue. Now you can definitely repurpose these pieces in another project if you like. Now once those pieces are all secured in place, we're going to go ahead and cover the puzzle side. Now this puzzle side will be the back of my project, and this will give it a clean look in case you want to give it as a gift or sell it. Now you just want to cut a piece of craft paper that will fit the 4 puzzles and then apply hot glue all around the puzzle side. Then place that puzzle face down on that craft paper and press it into place. Then you just want to go ahead and repeat this for the remainder of the puzzles. Now once they're all applied, you want to go ahead and protect your surface and you want to cut these out with an X-Acto or utility knife. And now that they're all cut out, we can go ahead and address that printed manufactured information on the wood. Now all we need to do to remove this is just take some sandpaper and buff out that ink stamp. So now we're ready to stain our wood. Now you can use a regular stain or you can mix your desired acrylic paint color with water. And this is what I'm going to do with gray. Then you just mix it until well blended. Now I'm taking my nylon craft brush and I'm applying the diluted mixture on the wood. Now I love how this is bringing out the grain of that wood. Now after applying to all the pieces, just wipe each piece down with a paper towel. And then I'm going to take a little bit more of that gray and I'm going to add some distressing. So I want to take a dry chip brush and lightly apply several strokes on each board going along with the grain. And then I'm going to go around the edges and dry brush it with a bit more of that gray for an aged wood look. And then finally, I'm adding just a few dark lines to accent the wood and show more distressing. And here is the final result. So now that they're dry, we can go ahead and add our lettering. Now I will be using a template that I made in a previous project to trace on my letters. Now I've provided the letter template for you all to use in the description box below as well. So we're just going to go ahead and lay out one of our boards, center the template on top, and trace the letter on the board with a pencil. And then you're just going to repeat this for the other letters. Now for the letter O, I will be using this cute windmill that I purchased from the Dollar Tree. Just go ahead and remove all of that labeling. Then we want to flip it over and cut that hang chain off with some wire clippers. Now I want to change the color of my windmill, so I'm going to take it outside to paint. And I will be using this brilliant aluminum spray paint by Krylon. You just want to apply 2 light coats and let it dry. Now that it's dry, I wanted to add some wear and rust to my windmill as well. So I'll be using this brown, gray, and red acrylic paints to achieve this look. Now we want to mix and blend the colors together until you get your desired tone. And then you just want to go ahead and apply the color to the windmill in a dabbling and stippling motion with mostly dry brush. Now we just want to sit this to the side to dry. And while that dries, I'm going to go ahead and outline my letters with a black Sharpie so I can see the edges better. And then with some black acrylic paint, I'm going to outline and fill in the letters. And now that those are done, we're going to set those to dry. Now by this time, our windmill should be dry and we can apply it to that last board. Go ahead and flip it over, and I will be using E6000 at a few of the contact points on the back of the windmill. And then I'm going to follow up with hot glue for an instant hold. Then we're going to flip it over, center it on the board, and press into place. Now we want to make sure that that windmill is still free spinning. Now, in order to hang our letters, I will be using jute string. So here I am, I'm marking the drill holes for my jute string about 1 inch from the side and 3/4 of an inch down from the top. Then I'm just going to lay down a piece of some scrap wood and I'm going to drill the holes in all of my letters. And now we can apply our jute string through the back of the letter on both sides. Now applying a tiny bit of hot glue on that end makes it easier to thread through. And now that it's threaded, we just want to estimate how much hang slack you'll need in order to hang it, and then we're just going to tie a double knot on each end and clip off the tails. And now that they're all ready to hang, let's see what it comes together to look like. And here it is. Okay, this wood looks so good. And you could hang it in a vertical or horizontal formation. I like this 4 square formation. It looks awesome. We'll need 2 mason style jars. We'll also need 4 skewers from this package. We'll all need some lemons. We'll need about 4. We'll also need 2 boxwood bundles of greenery or greenery of your choice, and we'll also use some yellow ribbon. So we're going to start this project with clean jars, and we're going to go ahead and start with removing those lids. Now I will be painting these with this deep cobalt blue acrylic paint. Now I will be applying 2 coats of this paint, making sure that they're drying thoroughly in between those coats. And here are both coats fully dry. And now I'm going to apply 1 coat of this matte Mod Podge on top. Now when you apply the Mod Podge, you want to apply it in 1 continuous stroke. And this will eliminate streaks in your finished project. So now that they're both just about dry, we can start on the embellishments. Now I'm going to start by taking those 4 skewers and I'm going to be painting them with this green color. Then once they are dry, we can start gathering up our other supplies. So I'm going to grab my lemons, I'm going to grab my greenery, I'm going to grab those jars and the ribbon. Now I'm going to start by cutting 2 long strips of that ribbon because I'm going to be wrapping this around the jars. So just tie it around the threads of the jar into a bow, and then we're just gonna trim it up on the ends. There you go, looks good. So once that's done, we could start adding our fillers to the jars. So after we add our greenery, we're going to work on the lemons. So we're going to remove that little green end piece on each one of the lemons and insert that skewer right inside there just until it's secure in place. And then once they're on the skewer, I'm just going to hold it up to the jar and I'm going to cut those skewers to fit inside at, your desired length. Now I did also decide to add some of these white wildflowers as well, and I got these from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to add a few clippings of those to the jar to finish off the look. And then you just repeat this for your other jar. Now after looking at these on display for a while, I thought that highlighting that mason jar emblem would give it a unique look. So I'm taking this old sanding sponge that's worn out that I don't use anymore. I'm going to be applying some acrylic white paint directly to it. It's a hard flat surface and it'll work for stamping. So I'm just going to apply some to there and I'm just going to lightly stamp on that paint to that logo just to kind of highlight it and show the little worn look. And I think it looked good. I was a little heavy-handed here, but I think the logo shows through really well. And now that everything is dry, we can put these on display, and I love how they turned out. Now I think these adorable arrangements would look great on a table display or even sitting in a window. We're going to need 2 of these large boxes from the Dollar Tree. And we'll also need 2 boxes of the tumbling blocks from the Dollar Tree. Now we're going to start with the 2 boxes and just go ahead and remove the lids since we won't be using them in the project. Now I will be painting these boxes, so I'm going to go ahead and prime them with the Zinsser 123 primer since it dries super quick and has an awesome smooth coverage. Now when those boxes are dry, we're going to apply a coat of the final paint, and I'll be using this white acrylic paint. Now you want to start by placing a layer on the inside, and then when you want to make sure you get those corners and the edges as well. And then apply a layer to the outside. Now when that final coat is dry, we will be using this Waverly Antique Wax to add the wood accent trim around the bottom edge. So what I'm going to do is take a ruler and I'm going to make a mark at 1.5 inches all the way around the bottom edge of those boxes. Now, once both boxes have been marked, you're going to take some painter's tape and you want to wrap it around the box along all of those marks. Now, once it's all applied, you just press it firmly into place to avoid any bleed through, and then repeat this on the other box. So now we can take our chip brush and we can start to apply the wax along the bottom. Now you want to make sure that your finishing strokes are in a vertical grain pattern. Now you want to repeat this process all the way around the box. And now that both boxes are done, you just want to make sure that they sit and dry thoroughly. So here they are dry, and now we can carefully remove that tape from the boxes. Now you all know I love a finished look, so I will be using some craft paper to cover up the bottom of the boxes. Now I'm just going to apply hot glue around the edge of the boxes and in the middle, and then press that craft paper into place. And now that it's all applied, all we have to do is cut off all of the excess paper close to the edge, and I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife to do this. So now you have a nice clean look, and now we can begin to work on our stands. So we're going to grab the 2 packs of blocks, and I'm going to take them out of the box and then place them in a container to keep them all together. Now here, I'm just going to show you quickly the sections we will be making for the stand. So now I'm excited to use this new glue gun that SureBonder sent me to try out. Now this glue gun is dual temp and it features an auto shutoff, which I know I will love. Now they also sent along these wood sticks, which is hot glue especially formulated for wood. Now it comes slightly tinted to use with your wood, but it can be used on other projects as well. So now I always use all-purpose glue when gluing on wood, but I'm interested to see how this will work with all of my wood projects today. So I'm just going to start applying the glue to each one of my pieces, and I want to make sure that I use a straight edge to keep them nice and straight. Now this is very important. Now it's also a good idea to wipe away any glue that oozes out of the connection as you go so it doesn't show up in your final project. And here are all of the sections that you will need for your stand. So we're going to start by bonding the bottom supports onto that main stand as shown. Now you want to make sure that both of those bottom supports are applied the same distance apart and that are evenly applied. And now we can add that bottom brace that will keep the piece nice and sturdy. And once this first one is done, just make a second one for your other box. And here are both of our stands fully assembled and dry. So now we can paint these, and I will be using this black acrylic paint to do this. Now I'm just going to apply 2 coats to both of the stands, and I want to let them dry thoroughly in between the coats. And here are both of the stands all dry. And now you can add a coat of Mod Podge or clear coat to protect it from scuffing your white boxes. And once those dry, you can add your boxes to your stands. And then you can fill your boxes with the greenery of your choice, or you can even use a real plant as long as you line the container with a plastic insert. And here are those containers on display. Now, I love how high-end these pieces look. Now, adding that pop of greenery to the containers really makes these pieces look amazing. Now, I love this simple and easy wood grain look achieved by that antique wax. And I have to say, I'm impressed how sturdy the stand is, and the bond is definitely stronger with the wood hot glue. Need 1 pack of these 5-gallon stir sticks, a piece of foam board from the Dollar Tree. We'll also need a scrap of black foam or black poster board, some boxwood greenery, and 6 tumbling tower blocks. So the first thing we're going to do is take our 5-gallon stir sticks, and I want to measure and mark a cut line of about 17 inches. And then I'm just going to cut this with my saw. So after cutting, I'm going to remove one of the sticks, and I want to mark it at the center point. And it ended up being 8.5 inches, and I want to cut that in half as well. And now I'm going to go ahead and prepare to stain. So I'm gathering up my supplies and using my Jacobian stain by Midwax. Now for these, I'm going to be applying the stain to both sides of the stick, including the printed side. We want to make sure we get the sides and ends as well. And once they're all stained, set them to the side to dry. Now for my letters, I'm going to be using this free template that I've linked below in the description box for you to use. I'm also going to be using this foam sheet to trace and cut out my letters. Now you can use poster board if you don't have foam sheet. So I'm going to cut out the letters out and out of the printer paper, and then I'm going to be taping them to that foam sheet with printer's tape. Now I'm going to be using greenery for my O, so I'm not going to be cutting out the O for this project, but you can if you like. And once taped into place, I'm just going to cut out those letters, and I want to just sit them to the side once they're all cut out. And now that the paint sticks are dry, we can assemble the frame. So now the printed side will be on the inside of the frame and facing the bottom. And we're just going to form this into a rectangular shape. And once our shape is in place, we're going to adhere it together with this wood glue from the Dollar Tree. Now I want to apply the glue to both ends of the long stick at the top and bottom of the frame. Now I'm going to use this tension clamp and put it in the center just to hold it in place while I apply a staple into each corner. And this will add extra support while the glue dries. Now I want to grab that foam board and I want to place my wood frame right on top. I'm going to grab a pencil and I want to trace the inside shape with that pencil. And then just carefully sit your frame to the side while it dries and place our board back on, and we can cut that board off using our X-Acto knife and a ruler for straight edges. So once the board is all cut out, we want to make lines across the board, dividing it into 4 even sections. So I want to mark tick marks into each end, dividing them into 4 equal sections, and then draw a line with my pencil, marking those lines. And then I'm going to take a Sharpie and I want to hand trace those lines out. Now I wanted this to look like shiplap, so I'm going to dry brush this white acrylic paint over the lines to make it look a little bit more natural. Now once that's all dry, we can apply our letters. Now I'm just going to lay them out evenly, and then once they're right in the place we want them, I'm going to apply hot glue to the back of each letter and apply it into place. And then I'm going to grab that greenery and I want to pull a few pieces from the stem. And then I'm going to take it and I want to glue it onto the board in the shape of the letter O. Now as you're applying, you want to make sure you overlap and trim the pieces as you go along. And here's the first round. Now I'm going to add a second round to make it a little bit more full. Now as a final touch, I'm going to add this little bow at the top of the O. And now we're going to take our frame and we're going to apply those tumbling blocks. We're going to apply 2 of the blocks to the inside long sides and 1 to the inside short sides, and we're going to use hot glue to apply them. Now to permanently secure the sign to the frame, place hot glue on top of the blocks and then press the board into place. Now I wanted mine to be interchangeable, so I'm just going to press it snugly into place against the blocks without any glue. And now you can see you don't see any of those tick markings on the front, you can only see them from the back. And here is the completed project. Now how sweet is this home sign? I think the shiplap look and the black lettering look so great together, and this really makes it look high-end. And I love the classic wreath for the O in this piece. We're going to start off with this 2-piece melamine bowl set from the Dollar Tree. We're going to go ahead and remove the stickers and the packaging and separate those bowls. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab my tape measure, and I want to grab a marker or a pencil. Now what I want to do is get that measurement around each bowl, and I'm going to take that number and divide it into 3. And once you get that number divided into 3, you're going to go ahead and mark those positions around your bowl, because this is where you will be attaching your strings. Once all the measurements are marked, you're going to drill a hole in the side of the bowl where you marked. Well, you really want to start slowly, and you don't want to press too hard or the bowl will crack. And here's one of the holes drilled. You just want to repeat this with the other hole markings and the other bowl. Now I did press a little hard here and it made the hole slightly larger, but it won't impact the project, but just be careful. So now we're going to grab some of this thick jute string, and this is about 2 to 3 times thicker than the Dollar Tree brand, but I like this one here. And we're going to be using our beads again as well. So first I'm going to cut about 6 strings, and you can be to your desired length, but I cut mine from 24 to 26 inches long. And then you're just going to start to thread the beads on the string, and I did 3 beads per string. And here are all my beads on my strings. So now we can start to thread the strings through the bowls. Now you want to pull enough string into the bowl so you can tie a knot about 3 or 4 times to make it nice and thick. And here are all of my strings attached to the bowl. So now I wanted to add a decorative knot to the string right above those beads. So I'm going to mark a place where I want them and then measure out and mark the same distance on the remaining strings. Now this ended up being about 7 inches on the small bowl and about 9 inches on the larger bowl. And once those marks are made, I'm just going to tie a double knot over the marks. And here's what the bowl should look like. Now once you repeat this for the other bowl, you simply just tie a single knot at the very top of those strings and you can hang up your bowls. Then all that's left to do is to fill your bowls with beautiful succulents, hang them up. I mean, how gorgeous are these? I'm really loving all the natural elements in this set, and it coordinates perfect with the shelf. Dollar Tree, and 2 of these toilet plungers from the Dollar Tree. Now we're going to start by removing that rubber end of both plungers, and now we'll have 2 dowel rods. Now we're going to cut this down to size in 3 pieces for legs that measure about 5 inches in length each. And then we're going to cut one end of each leg at a slight angle with a miter box or a miter saw. Now I cut at about 15 degrees. And then once cut, we're going to sand those down at each end to smooth out the edges. So I will be using these 1-inch wood screws to attach the legs, and also these 1/8 by 3/4 inch washers. So we'll need to drill a pilot hole at the angled end of each leg. And here are all the holes drilled in the legs. So now we're going to go ahead and paint those containers. Now I will be using this white chalk paint to paint the containers. Now I'm going to start by adding 2 coats on the inside and letting them dry in between the coats. And then you want to paint 2 coats on the outside. And to create texture, take a stiff bristle brush to create texture in that second coat while that paint is still wet. And then finally, you could paint the bottom and let them dry. So now that they are dry, we can prepare to add those legs. Now we're going to be adding 3 legs per planter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark a location with a pencil about 3/4 inches from the edge on 3 sides of that container. And then just take your drill and you want to drill a hole at each one of those markings. And then you want to assemble one of your screws with one of those washers and you want to insert it into the drill hole inside that container. And then repeat with the remaining screws. And now we can start to attach the legs. So you want to align that leg with one of those pilot holes in the leg and screw it into place with a screwdriver. Now you do want to make sure that the leg angle is facing out as shown here. And then just add the remaining 2 legs. And now these are snug into place. Now you can use a permanent adhesive to attach these as well, but if you plan on placing something heavy in these, go with the screws. And that is it. And now all you have to do is add the greenery or florals of your choice and you have completed this look. Now I love clean and modern look of these planters, and you can use these in different areas of your home in so many ways. So we'll need one of these metal vases from the Dollar Tree, and we'll also need a scrap piece of foam board from the Dollar Tree as well. I'm going to start by taking the vase, and what I want to do is I want to measure around the top opening, and I want to mark the half point at about 8.5 inches. You want to make sure you use the seam as a start point, so the seam will be on the opposite side of your mark. And then you want to do the same thing for the bottom of the container, and you want to mark it at about 5.5 inches. So now just take a straight edge and you want to draw a line connecting those marks. Now to cut the vase in half, what I'll be using are these tin snips. Now the edges of the container will be very sharp, so you want to make sure that you wear protective hand gloves. Now ideally you should use leather hand gloves, but these plastic coated gloves will work perfect. So you want to start cutting on the line in short snips all the way down to the bottom of the container. And then you want to cut the other side along the seam. So now that both sides are cut, you want to use the snips and cut across the center. You're going to go in from one side and make a couple snips, and then go in from the other side and finish off that cut. Now you just want to take your 2 pieces and even out and shape the edges the way that you would like them to look. So now you can grab your foam board and you want to lay your half piece on top of that foam board. What you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and trace the shape onto the foam board. And then grab your hot glue gun and go around that shape a couple of times with a bead of hot glue. And then you want to place that vase right on top of that glue. You want to nestle it into the glue and hold it in place until it sets. Now you want to trim off the excess of that foam board. And this is going to be for your other vase. And you just want to repeat this process with that other vase. Now when they're both adhered, you want to add a bead of glue to the inside edges of the vases for a little bit of extra security. You won't be able to get all the way to the bottom, but try to get as much of the sides as possible. So now I'm just going to take the X-Acto knife and I want to trim off that foam board close to the edge of the vase. And then you're going to repeat this for your other vase. So now that everything is nice and trimmed, we're going to blend in that cut foam board. So I'll be using some of this 99-cent Martha Stewart silver paint that I picked up from Tuesday Morning a while back. Now I'm just going to apply a coat of that paint to the exposed foam board edges. Now I'm also going to apply a bit of it a few inches down into the vase just in case it's exposed when on display. Now to make these hang, I am just going to cut and apply 2 pieces of jute string. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to knot the edges and fold it in half. And then I'm just going to hot glue it to the back of the sconce, and I'm going to do this for both sconces. Now once those are all dry, all you have to do is add the greenery of your choice and then hang these up and put them on display. Listen, if you love DIYs on a budget, give this video a big thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Make sure that you're following She's So Crafty on Facebook for the latest news, sneak peeks, and giveaways. Thank you so much for visiting and checking out my tutorial today. Now, if you like videos like these and you don't want to miss the next one, make sure you're subscribed by clicking that subscribe button below and turning on that notification bell. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.